Created with free version for non-commercial use.
So arrays are a very important part of many programming languages. They allow us to store multiple values in one variable. They can be mutated and iterated through, and they can be used in some really complex algorithms. So in this video, we're going to look at creating arrays and mutating them with some really helpful methods that are available in JavaScript. Now, I'm not going to get into iteration and looping in this particular video. We're going to do that in the lecture on loops and iteration. So don't think that I'm leaving that out. We're just going to do it in a few lectures from now. So let's start off by just creating some arrays. So we'll say create some arrays, and we're going to create an array of numbers. So I'm just going to call this numbers. And there's a couple ways to define arrays. This is basically the recommended, or I guess the most popular way of doing it is just by setting some brackets, and we'll put some numbers in here. Let's say 43, 56, 33, 23, 44, 36, and 5. So we have an array of numbers. Now the second way to create an array, and I'll just call this numbers 2, is to use the array constructor and using the array object. So we do that by saying new array, and then we can put our numbers in here. So we can say whatever, 22, 45, 33, 76, 54, whatever. So both of these are arrays, okay? Both of these are ways to create an array. Now, of course, arrays don't have to be just numbers. Let's create an array of strings. We'll call this fruit. And we'll put in here, let's say apple, banana, orange, and pear. All right, so we have an array of strings, and of course we can mix different data types. So I'll just call this mixed. So we can have, let's say, a number, we can have a string, we'll say hello, we can have a Boolean, we can have undefined, null, we can have an object, so we'll say A1, B1. All right, we can even have dates, so we'll say new date. All right, so we can have all different data types, and just to show you what that looks like, we'll say console.log mixed, and you can see that we have an array of all different types. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to initialize a variable called val. We're going to do this kind of like we've done a lot of past lectures. We're just going to kind of, mutate this variable to show different things, and then at the end we'll console log it. So we'll console log.val, and we're also console log the array itself. We're going to work with the numbers array mostly. So we'll say console log numbers. All right, so if I save that now, it's going to show us the numbers array. I should probably make this a little smaller. And it's going to show us undefined because that's what val is right now. It's undefined. All right, so first thing I want to show you is how to get the array length. Okay, so by length I mean how many values are in the array, and we can use this just as if we were to use it with a string. So we'll say val equals numbers dot length and save, and you can see we get 7. There's 7 numbers in this array. All right, we can also check to see if something's an array. Check if is array, and we do that using the array object. So we'll say val equals capital A array, and then it has a method called is array, and then we can pass in whatever we want to test, in this case the numbers array, and if we save we get true. If I were to put in here a string and save, we get false. Alright, so that's a very simple way to check to see if something is actually an array, and this is useful when we're dealing with the DOM because we can return, for instance, a node list from the DOM which is structured like an array, but it's not an actual array, so we can't do certain things like for each loops. So it's a good way to test to see if something's an array, and then you can convert it into an array if you need to. Alright, so to get a single value from an array, we can say we'll do val equals numbers and then we want to use our brackets, and we want to put in the position of the value that we want, or the index. So let's say 3 and save. So that gives us 23. All right, and if we look up here, 23 is actually the 4th value in the array. Now the reason that this happens is because arrays are 0 based. All right, they're 0 based in every language that I've ever used. So basically this is 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that's why we're getting 23 when we're looking at the 3 index. All right, so if we say val equals numbers 0 and save, you'll see we'll get 43, which is the first value. Okay, so just always remember that arrays are 0 based. Now, what if we want to insert something into this array? Okay, arrays are not immutable. We can modify them. So let's say let's put a comment here. We'll say insert into array. So we can say numbers equals, not numbers equals, numbers, and then the index, we'll put it in the index 2, and we'll set that to 100. So if we save that now and we look at the array that's being printed out, 100 is now in the 2 index position. All right. Now, if you want to find the index of a value, say find index of value, you can use the index of method. So we'll say val equals numbers dot index of, and let's say we want to find the index for 36. So we'll save that and we get 5. And if we look up here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 36 is in the 5 position. All right. So now let's look into mutating arrays with different methods, okay, or different functions that are available. So the first one I want to show you is how to add on to the end of the array. So we can do that with a method called push. So we're going to say numbers dot push, and let's push on 250, and we'll save. And now you can see if we look at the array, which is being logged here, we get 250 at the end. All right, and I'm just going to comment this. So we'll say add on to end. And what if we want to add on to front? So for that, we have a method called unshift. So unshift, let's put on 120.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.